Hello, awesome mindsetters. This is your best channel for learning. Yes, Learn Extra Live with me, Abram, and Tanya. How are you, Tanya?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
I'm awesome. Mindsetters, hope you're also good. This is your chance now, still on the Winter School program, whereby you can join us and learn more with us. Today, we are doing business studies. And what are we going over?
Well, basically what we're going to be doing is we're looking at the 2013 paper, the February-March one. That's, and we're doing the medium type questions. And
so it's more like a revision.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
All right. Well, we'll be taking you through now to our competition that we are running, proudly sponsored by Soul Candy. We're giving away an awesome CD. I'll show you now. This is the CD I'm giving away today, Deep House Chronicles, all courtesy of Soul Candy. So all you need to do is to check first the number of likes that we have. Tanya, can you show us?
Let's have a look. I just want to refresh it quickly so we've got the most up-to-date information.
Yes.
And there we go, 45,497.
All right, and now we're just looking at the last digit, which is 7. So what is happening is the name of our challenge is Stop the Clock. We're going to be starting our clock. All you need to do is to guess between 0 and 9 which one is your lucky number, of which you think by the time we stop the clock, we would have got that number on our last digit of our likes. That's simple. If you guess right, of course, you're going to win this. And also later on, I'll be announcing the winner of this awesome CD case. So now, all you need to do is to jump over to mindset.co.za/learn/stop the clock. That's how simple it is. Let's just start it now. Tanya, what's your number?
My number is 9.
Your number is 9. Oh, you're going for the big one.
Go big or go home.
I'll go for 0. Okay, I'll be slow. I'll take the lowest. So I'll be 0 and you'll be 9.
There we go.
All you need to do is, mindsetters, as you see that there is 7. For Tanya to get to her number, she'll only need 2 more likes, and then it will be 9 by the time we stop the clock. But then for me, I'll need more than that. I'll need 3. So that it gets back to 0. So that's how it is. You get your friends to like our page, share the page, and let's get all those likes in. But otherwise, if you need any queries or you're having any problems or questions, go over Facebook. We are on facebook.com/learnextra. Tanya and I are ready to give you a most insightful and very, very helpful show ever. Let's take it away, Tanya.
Great stuff. So, like I mentioned earlier, grade 12s, we're looking at the 2013 March-February paper, and what I've done is I've left out the short questions. We'll get back to that. I'll discuss that with you a little bit later on. And what I've done today is looked at section B, the medium type questions, and I've taken 1 essay. So the very first thing I've got here, remember, mindsetters, grab your highlighter, get your notes ready, and let's go. Let's just do this. So the first question was question 1 here, which is state 4 functions of, let me grab the right pen here, 4 functions of the Johannesburg Security Exchange, or the JSE, and explain why some companies are not listed on the JSE. So the first thing you need to do now is to remember, think back to what are the functions of the JSE. Now remember, this section will fall part of the investments, because remember, JSE shares, things like that. So the question was, what are the functions, or what are the functions of the JSE? So the very first function of the JSE, and you'll see here, is that it serves as a link between investors and entrepreneurs. So what they mean with this, grade 12s, is that the JSE serves as sort of a bond between entrepreneurs, people starting businesses who have their business listed, and people who want to invest, buy shares in their company and make money. And with that, remember, you get people who buy shares to sell it immediately to make a profit, and other people buy shares to watch it grow and try and get money out of it in the long run. The second function of the JSE is that it serves as a barometer of economic conditions. Now, this statement is telling us that the JSE is showing us when the share prices go up, go down, commodities go up and down, basically. It's telling us if our economy in South Africa as a whole is doing well. So if share prices are high, generally it means the economy is doing well. If share prices are low, it will serve as an indicator that as a whole, the South African economy is not very strong. The third function of the JSE is that it encourages financial institutions to invest their surplus funds in shares. In other words, to try and increase their money. And another one, it serves as a disciplined market for securities. In other words, a safe, secure environment where you can buy, sell shares different types of commodities, and in that way do it in a way that is reputable. Remember, if you want to be listed on the JSE, you have to have you have to meet certain criteria. In other words, it's a safe place. So if companies are listed, you can be let me rephrase that. It's safe to buy because the company has met the requirements of the JSE, but obviously the JSE can't guarantee you that the shares are going to increase in value, etc. And let's just do one more of this. Another function of the JSE is that it encourages new investments by businesses or individuals previously disadvantaged groups. So it's giving every South African an opportunity to buy commodities or shares, and in that way everybody gets a chance to make a little bit of money. Now, there was two parts to this question. So the first part was, what are the functions? And let's quickly have a look at the second part. The second part tells us, or asks us, explain why some companies are not listed on the JSE. Now, why some companies are not listed on the JSE, grade 12s, would simply be that they do not meet the requirements set by the JSE, and obviously private companies can also not be listed. So let's quickly get these down. So the question was why some companies are not listed. So the first reason is that they don't meet the requirements set by the JSE. And the second part is so don't meet requirements, and oh, you're going to laugh at me. I forgot what the second part is. So let's just go with the first part here. Sorry, grade 12, I was having a completely blown moment here. So it's they don't meet the requirements, and I promise you I'll get back to the second part of this question as soon as possible. I don't know why. Could be the holiday season. Let's go to the next part. Okay, so the next question asks us, question 2, and again, remember, we're looking at the 2013 paper, and this is question 2.2. Now, with question 2.2, it says, the graph below represents the sales volume of cakes at Stranger Manor School during the 4 school terms of 2011. So let's quickly have a look at this pie chart, because it's quite clearly, remember, you in grade 12 need to be able to identify different types of charts, and you need to be able to interpret them, especially. So let's have a quick look at this. So we know it's a pie chart, and what is it a pie chart of? It's a pie chart of cake sales, and it's showing us term 1, they sold 27%, term 2, 20%, and term 3 is unknown, and term 4, 12%. Now, what is the first question here? It's asking us, identify the type of graph illustrated above. And like I've already said, this type of graph, really easy to identify. It's a pie chart. So let's get that down. So it's a pie chart, and that's a nice, easy 2 marks. The next question asks us, which school term recorded the highest percentage of sales? Now, let's go back to our graph and have a look. Now, just by looking at the graph, we can see that term 3 by far had the most sales. But the problem here is it's telling us that term 3 is unknown. So for this question, grade 12s, you're going to have to use a bit of basic math skills and work it backwards to find the answer, because we know term 3 is the biggest, but we don't know what the answer is. So let's do this together. So the first part here, which school term recorded the highest percentage? So to get this, we know that term 1 had 27%, term 2 had 20%, we don't know what term 3 is, and term 4 was 12%. I'll just write over that. Now when you add these together, so let's do this in the calculator. So term 1, we had 27%, term 2, 20, remember term 3 we don't know, and term 4 we had 12. So over the 3 terms, we now know that we had 59%. So 59%. Now to get the answer for term 3, you're going to have to work backwards. So term 3, which we don't know, is going to be equal to 100%. Now why am I saying 100%, grade 12s? Think about it. A pie chart always works out to be out of 100. So remember that. So we're going to go 100% minus the 59% will give us 41%. So the question was, which school term recorded the highest percentage of sales? So the answer quite simply is term 3, and it was 41%. Let's go to the next question. I really like questions like these, grade 12s. They're easy, free marks, you can really go with it, and it just takes a little bit of common sense. So let's look at the next question to this. The next question is asking us, recommend 2 practical strategies that Stranger Manor School can use to improve their poor sales performance in term 4. So let's quickly go back and look at term 4. Term 4 only had the 12%, and that's really low. So this question is asking us, what can they practically do to boost term 4's 12%? Now before I go into the question, I want you to think about this logically. In a previous question, it also asked why, in another question paper, they asked, why would term 4 have the lowest sales? And if they ask you a question like that, be logical about it. Remember, term 4, people writing exams, people coming and going, there isn't really a lot of school time in term 4. So that would be a reason for low sales in term 4. But now, let's answer that question. So what are the practical recommendations? The practical recommendations would simply be to, let's do 2, so it would be to intensify advertising or marketing. So letting the kids know that there is stuff to buy. And the second practical or recommendation would be to diversify, or diversification of their products. So diversification of products. Now, what's meant with that? In other words, instead of just selling 1 or 2 products, maybe try and add another product, and this might boost sales. Remember, what you want to do is what you need to do is to be logical. Am I going to add products that complement what I already have, or am I going to put something in completely new, which will also attract customers? So that was question 2.2, nice and easy, like I said. And remember, please remember, in this example, we used a pie chart, but you can also often you get bar graphs, histograms, things like that. Okay.
Right, Tanya, I think I have an answer for you. Remember earlier on you were stuck somewhere?
Yes.
And someone has an answer for you. Zelade Zenandi Nkosente says, the second reason was private companies aren't listed.
Thank you. I'm really glad you guys are listening out there. I got on the spot. Well done. Thank you so much. So let's quickly add that in there. And yes, like I mentioned, and quite simply, guys, if you think about this logically, private companies simply aren't listed. And remember, they're not listed because the shares are not available for the public to buy. Awesome. I'm really proud of you guys. It means you guys are listening, getting in there. Let's go to another question I have for you. And this question is question 2.3 from the 2013 paper. And it says, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Often, grade 12s, and I always tell you this, remember, grab a highlighter and always highlight the information that seems important, because when you're answering your questions, it's easier to refer back to it. So, what is the heading? It says lighthouse. Now, Anton has been the owner of a lighting factory in the Western Cape for the past 10 years. He manufactures and distributes his products to large lighting retail shops. Now, in his factory shop, he sells lamps and other lighting accessories. Now, lately, sales have declined because of another lighting shop which is opened in the area. The following are some of the challenges and strengths of his business enterprise. So the first one there, low worker morale, high absenteeism, but also highly skilled workers, poor team spirit, and the use of modern machinery. So they are telling us that these are challenges and strengths. So we can sort of think of this as weaknesses and strengths. The next part here tells us he predicts that he will make a large profit, but fears unforeseen expenditure might reduce his profits. Now, possible reasons for this include, amongst others, competitors that may sell imported products at a lower price, as well as trade unions demanding higher salaries. Then he has decided to diversify by manufacturing and selling electrical appliances. Anton has a vision of registering his business as a franchise. So a lot of this information is telling us about the business, and we clearly identified strengths and weaknesses, as well as other sort of important information. So let's have a look at the question, and this will help us to answer it. So the question is asking us, develop a SWOT analysis from the scenario above. Now, before I go into that, remember SWOT analysis, it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And also remember, strengths and weaknesses are internal, and opportunities and threats are external. So strengths and weaknesses are internal. What is meant by that is that that's you or your business. What are your strengths and your weaknesses as a business? And opportunities and threats are external. In other words, what are other companies or other individuals doing that are either hindering or helping you? So I've got the table here for you, and we're going to go through it together. So the strengths and weaknesses. So it asked us to highlight, first off, strengths and weaknesses. So the first strength there that we looked at would be a highly skilled workers. In other words, the people that work for him are very good at what they do. They've got a lot of knowledge on creating the products, working with the products, and that really helps. The second strength would be a vast experience of 10 years. He has used, or he's been in the business for 10 years, so he knows what trends are happening and what's going around him. And the third strength, grade 12s, would be that he uses modern machinery. Now, this modern machinery would be a strength. Why? Because if it's, one theory, it should be faster, less wastage, things like that. So modern machinery would definitely be a strength. And remember, that is internal. Let's have a look at the weaknesses. The first weakness is that there is low worker morale. In other words, the workers might be very skilled, but they're not very happy at work. And that could be for a whole lot of different reasons. The second weakness would be poor team spirit. In other words, they don't work well together. And a third one I've got here is high rate of absenteeism and a decline in sales performance. Now, the point of, remember, SWOT analysis is to help you figure out your business, see where you're going, but also you can take your weaknesses, see what you can do with it, and change it into a strength. So remember, what do you want to do? You want to change your weakness into a strength. Let's have a look at the opportunities. So what are the opportunities for his business? First one would be expansion into the electrical business and diversification. So he is trying something new, remember, and that is an opportunity. If you can do something slightly different or slightly better than your competition, it's easier to draw people in. The second opportunity is that he's looking at a franchise opportunity. Now remember, franchises have a lot of advantages and disadvantages, but in this case study, it's sort of indicating that creating a franchise would be beneficial and in the long run probably give him more money. And let's look at the last part here, the threats. What are the threats? The threats are competitors are selling similar imported products at a cheaper price, as well as trade unions demanding higher salaries and wages, and also unforeseen expenditure. So with threats, just like weaknesses, you can look at your threats and see how can you turn them around or sort of tweak them a little bit and turn them into an opportunity. So remember, grade 12s, it's very difficult sometimes to try and differentiate between strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But always the easiest way is looking at it, is this an internal or an external factor? And that will help you differentiate between a weakness and a threat. Cool. Should we go to the next question?
Let's take a break.
Take
How's
a break.
that?
Awesome. I can
Just
do
to
that.
get some quick breather. But as we're about to take that break, Mindsetters, remember, you can still enter for the competition, the Stop the Clock competition. The entry form is at mindset.co.za/learn/stop the clock. You still have that chance to guess which number do you think by the end of the show we'll be hitting it as the last digit of our likes. Currently, we're standing at number 8. So if your number is like Tanya, 9, get your friends over the break to vote for you, one friend. But if you're like me, I'll get 4 more friends because my number is 0. See you after the break. Don't move. Welcome back, Mindsetters. Now I have a few things that I need to tell you, just 3 things. Number 1 is that if you're having any problems or difficulties, make sure that you contact us on our Facebook page. We are at Learn Extra, facebook.com/Learn Extra. The second thing that I need to tell you, it's about Curio. You can take an assessment as we're going through some questions, and Tanya will be there to assess you. And there are also other guys at the back that are helping to assess whether do you understand the questions that we're going through. And then later on, some of the questions that are giving you difficulties, Tanya will go through. So you go to curio.co.za. Your code is BS12, but more information will be also on our Facebook page. And the last thing that I need to tell you is that on our Stop the Clock competition, we are currently at, Tanya, help me.
We're on 45,497.
So number 7 is leading currently. So get your friends to like the page and make sure that by the end of the show, when you stop the clock, your number is the last digit, having, of course, a great advantage for you to win our awesome CD. But for now, let's continue, Tanya.
Okay, cool stuff. So please go onto the Facebook website, guys.
Yes.
And check out the Curio thing. It's something nice you can do in between the breaks. But I'll remind you when we take our next break. So the question we're at now is question 3.2, and let's see what this question is. So the question is asking us, besides defensive strategies, formulate 3 other practical strategies to overcome the challenges identified in the above scenario. Now, you would know that there are different types of strategies. Remember, we get intensive, defensive, all of these things, but the question's not asking you to give those answers. They're saying use the case study and give practical strategies from there. So just read properly before you answer the question. So let's have a look at the answer here. So what are the different strategies? So the first one that you can do is to offer incentives for good work done. Example, bonuses or shopping vouchers, as well as rewards. So how can you overcome one of the challenges of workers not having a high morale? Is to give them incentives. So if you work hard, if you're shining, to give those workers a chance by giving them a bonus of sorts. Another strategy that they can implement is do team building, literally taking your workers out there and maybe doing something fun outside, like you can even go out and play a soccer match against each other. But anything to get your workers to start working together and to see the benefits also in the long run of working as a team. Another strategy, remember they asked us for 3, was to provide coaching and mentoring. So coaching and mentoring would be providing an opportunity for your workers to speak to somebody perhaps, or just to give them different skills. And that would obviously in the long run, again, help them work with each other. Let's just actually do one more, yeah? The one I've got here is insist on medical certificates. Remember, one of the problems was high absenteeism. Now, if workers are often absent, remember, you are losing out with profit, productivity, all these different things. So if a worker is absent, they have to provide you with a doctor's certificate or medical certificate of sorts to prove that they weren't actually just chilling at home, really, at the end of the day. So making sure that workers are really ill, and if they are ill, providing evidence. Now, the next question I've got here for you is 3.3. And the question is, evaluate 2 defensive strategies that can be used in Anton's factory. Now, remember, defensive strategy is one of the 4 big strategies, and you need to know what defensive strategies include. So let's have a look at the answer. You'll see with the first defensive strategy that can be used is divestiture, and this will give you your 2 marks. And what is the evaluation? It will bring in additional money from the sales of non-profit generating assets, as well as sometimes the assets sold may be repurchased at a high price in the future. So the first part of the defensive that Anton can use is divestiture. So remember, getting rid of the assets and working it out that way. The second part of the defensive could be retrenchment. Now, retrenchment would involve the business will reduce expenses by paying less salaries and wages. Now, workers will become unemployed and the business will lose skilled workers. Now, this will have a negative impact on the image of the business. So one of the strategies would be retrenchment. Remember, retrenchments would literally be, I'm trying to cut costs by letting my workers go. But the problem with that is, even though you're not cutting costs, you're losing skilled workers, as well as those people you've retrenched no longer have jobs. And that will obviously, in the South African problem with unemployment, that will be very negative on your business image. And the third strategy, could be, and remember, this one is the absolute, it's the last resort, guys. Liquidation is the last defensive strategy. Now, creditors may or may not receive the full amount due. Now, this will have a negative impact on the image of the business, and the business may or may not receive the full amount of money owed by debtors. Now, Anton will be blacklisted, and the competition will benefit from this. Remember, liquidation is literally closing your company down. And remember, with liquidation, your assets are sold, creditors get paid off first, and then things need to work backwards. And not just that, Anton will be blacklisted. In other words, his credit record will have a negative impact, will have a negative thing on it, and this will mean that for the next few years, he won't be able to get hold of credit easily. In other words, he won't be able to start another business quite soon. So that was 3.3, and remember, we looked at the defensive strategies. The next question I have for you is question 4, and this is actually 2.4 from the 2013 paper. So if you've got the paper in front of you, remember, pens, highlighters, paper, get everything ready, have it all together. Now this question is asking us, briefly explain how the following factors can contribute to the success and failure of a sole proprietorship. In other words, grade 12s, this question is asking you what are the advantages and disadvantages for a sole trader under a certain heading. So let's look at what that heading is. The first heading is management. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of a sole proprietor and management? And again, grade 12s, it's not tricky in that all you need to know really are what are the advantages and disadvantages of the different forms of ownership, and you can apply it to any scenario really at the end of the day. So with management, what are the success factors? And like I told you, what could be the possible advantages? The first success factor would be owners are responsible for the management of the business. In other words, as a sole proprietor, you are the manager and you get to make all the choices, which makes it it's a quick process. It's not time consuming because you don't have to speak to other partners or other people in the company. You get to make the choice and it goes pretty fast. The second success factor would be quick management decisions with regard to profitable opportunities can be taken, and that falls a part of what I said already. Because it's quicker, chances are, because you can make a good decision quickly, or hopefully make a good decision quickly, it gives you a good chance to maybe make some money. Then the owner also becomes an expert in all the business functions, which leads to a greater success for the business. So because the business owner is the manager and and he or she has to be involved with advertising, finance, all these different things, that person will become that person will be an expert in many of the different things because they have to work with all the different things. Now let's look at factors or failure factors of a sole proprietor and management. So the first one could be lack of business management skills and knowledge can lead to the business's failure. So you are an entrepreneur, a young person trying to start something, you might not have all the skills you need and all the different expertise to do all the different things. And this could obviously hinder your business. Another failure or reason for failure could be poor decision making by the owner can lead to the business's failure. So just as an advantage or success factor is that you can make quick decisions, sometimes making a quick decision and maybe not bouncing it off someone else, it's going to cause you to maybe make a bad decision which will lead to your business failing in the long run or even the short run. And let's do one last failure. It could be incompetent owners of businesses may require the services of consultants, which may increase the business expenses. So like I already said, you might not have all the knowledge and skills needed to run the business, so you'll obviously need to get somebody else to give you advice or maybe do different parts or different functions of the business for you, and this will obviously cost money. And remember, all the money that's going out is literally money not in your pocket. Let's have a look at the next part here. The question is, remember, what is the impact of a sole proprietor or sole trader in relation to capital? So let's have a look at the success factors. So what are the success factors relating to capital? Now, the owner contributes capital and has full control over its utilization for the success of the business. So because the owner, all the money is coming from the owner makes all the decisions based on what's going to happen with the money. So there's a lot of control in where the owner is using the capital he has or she has. Second point here, the sound credit record of the owner can afford him or her opportunities to get financial assistance for the expansion of the business. Now, this point is assuming that the owner of the business has not been blacklisted before. Remember, I mentioned that earlier, and he or she has a good credit record. In other words, it's easy for that person to get loans, buy things on credit to boost the company or business they've started. What are the failure factors? Now, the failure factors of a sole proprietorship in relation to capital would be that the capital is limited to what the owner contributes or borrows, which may not be enough to run the business. And lastly, the limited capital contribution or contributed by the owner can hamper business growth and expansion initiatives. So because the owner is the only person bringing money into it, it's limited in how much money can be placed into the company. And remember, if you don't have enough capital, your business won't grow as fast as it needs to, or might not even grow properly because you don't have enough money placed into it. So that was looking at sole proprietorship and the success and failure of taxation as well as capital. Let's go to the next question. Now, the next question, grade 12s, is question 3.1 from the previous paper. And remember, get those highlighters. Let's have a look at the scenario. So study the job advert below and answer the questions that follow. So let's have a look at this advert. It's saying HJ recruitment. Now, a progressive and leading optometry group has an exciting position for a senior optometrist. What are the requirements? The requirements are a minimum of 5 years practical experience, a dynamic, enthusiastic, and energetic person, and somebody that is passionate about patient satisfaction, somebody who has strong communication skills, somebody with management experience, as well as somebody with strong work ethic. Now remember, this section, guys, if we're looking at adverts, job adverts, things like that, this is part of the HR function. So quickly get your minds on track. We're looking at HR. So let's carry on with this ad. It's telling us that the salary package, the basic salary is 660,000 Rand per annum. Remember, that's per year. And in order to apply for the above vacancy, please email your CV to HJ Recruitment, admin, the email address, there's the person you can contact, as well as their numbers. So remember, HR, we're looking at a job advert and questions related to it. So what is the first question here? The question is asking us, state the job title. Now the job title was right on top, grade 12s, and it is asking and looking for a senior optometrist. So let's quickly get this down. So what is the job title? The job title is senior optometrist. The next question, calculate the gross monthly salary. Now remember, grade 12s, gross monthly salary or gross salary is telling us what is the salary before any deductions. So any deductions like medical aid, pension, things like that. So gross, remember, is before deductions. And if it's after deductions, we call it net. So remember that. If you don't remember it, quickly write that down. So what is the gross monthly salary? So let's quickly look at the advert. The advert tells us that it is 660,000 Rand per annum. In other words, 660,000 Rand a year. Now the easiest way to calculate this is take the 660,000, and if the question is telling us, or if it's telling us it's per annum, and we want to calculate it per month, all you simply have to do is take the complete or the total amount and divide it by 12, because it's 12 months in a year. So 660,000 divided by 12. If you like, we can quickly do it on the calculator together. 660,000 divided by 12 months will give us 55,000 Rand a month. So what is the gross salary for this position? It's 55,000 Rand. 2 marks because it's quite a simple calculation, and always just remember per annum is just another way of saying per year. The third question that goes with this, it says, explain why this advert does not comply with the government's initiative of inclusivity. So what you need to do now is think back, what does inclusivity involve? And inclusivity falls part of, remember, human rights, all those different things. So now this question is shifting slightly in a different direction. So why does it not comply? If you read through the advert, it'll tell you that it doesn't comply because it makes no mention of the following. It makes no mention of, firstly, equal opportunities. It also does not mention anything about previously disadvantaged people. I'm going to abbreviate this. And it also doesn't say anything about people with disabilities. And I'm not going to write it down, but it also doesn't mention anything about gender equality. So this advert is not it's not specifying anything, or it's not indicating any involvement or wanting of inclusivity in the company. The third question, the fourth question, it asks us, identify one important aspect that is omitted from the advert. So in other words, identify one important thing that has been left out on the advert. And obviously now we've already discussed that they haven't included inclusivity, so you can't use that as an answer. So besides that, what have they not included in the advert? They have not included issues like, or important things, like the closing date for the advert. So up to when can you apply for this? So the closing date. Another part that they left out or omitted is the postal address. So if you don't want to email this and you prefer to send it by mail. They didn't give a postal address. And lastly, very importantly, there was no job description. Well, there wasn't no job description. The job description was not very clear. So the job description, not clear. So in other words, you're not entirely sure about what your functions are. So you know what is required, 5 years experience, all those things, but you're not entirely sure about what you're going to be doing in the job. And the last question to this part, or question 5, it asks us, the successful senior optometrist must sign a contract before commencement of work. Explain why a contract is important and state any 4 clauses that must appear in an employment contract. So there's 2 parts to this question, grade 12s. So
All
the
right.
first part.
Tanya, I think we can also let the mindsetters give us some answers, and
Sure.
we'll take them after the break on that one.
Okay, cool.
How's
So,
it?
guys, get the question and we'll do it together.
All right, let's see your answers. Mindsetters, stay in tune, because after the break we'll be going through some of the questions, and also make sure that you do go to curio.com.co.za, and then you fill in the assessment, and let's see, do you understand and where are you lacking, and then Tanya will treat some of the questions that are from the Curio. So see you after the break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. Now, there's a quote that says, the stars cannot shine without darkness. So we do understand that there are some Mindsetters that are still in darkness. You can help them by becoming a team mindset, whereby we're helping one another on our social media platforms, such as on our Facebook page. It is facebook.com/LearnExtra, or on Twitter, follow us at LearnExtra. But now, on the Stop the Clock competition, Tanya's going to take us through on our current state, and let's see who's on the roll and rocking there. The current number.
Grade 12's current number, 45,501. Remember, my number's 1 year. Okay, so we need to get lots more people to like.
Your number is 9.
9. My
so
number's 9.
You need 8 more people to like the page. And as for me, I need 9 more people to like the page, because my number is 0. So Mindsetters, like the page. Just 9 of you. I know my friends. I have so many friends that are commenting. They're saying they're from Limpopo. So friends, please like the page and get other guys to like the page. The entry form is found at mindset.co.za/learn/stop the clock. Tanya, let's continue.
Okay, guys, so remember in the breaks, you have to go to Curio, check out, do those little short questions, so we can help you with it at the end of it. So before the break, I started looking at a question. Should I just carry on with it?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay, so that question was, just to remind you, the successful senior optometrist must sign a contract before the commencement of work, and then you have to explain why a contract is important. So that's the first part of the question, and state any 4 clauses that must appear in an employment contract. That's the second part of the question. So let's have a look at the first part. So explain why a contract is important. So the first part of why a contract is important is because the employer and employee will be legally protected. So when you sign an employment contract, you're protecting yourself from anything that could happen from the employer side, and the employer also, in the same breath, protects themselves against the new employee. And what's meant with protection would be, for example, people quitting their jobs unexpectedly, or people being fired unexpectedly. So it's just really helping both sides and giving them security. The second part of this explanation is that clear contract stipulations are given. So exactly what is expected from you, your salary, all these different things are given in a clear, easy to understand way. And the last part of this explanation is that no uncertainty for the company or the worker. So everybody knows what's expected from them. So that's why employment contracts are important. Let's quickly look at 4 parts. That is part, well, let's quickly scroll up. And it says, give any 4 clauses that must appear in the contract. So let's quickly do a couple of them. So what are the clauses? The first clause is that the full name of the employer, in other words, the exact name of who you're going to start working for. So that's the first clause. The second clause is the address of the employer, so where you are going to be working. The third clause that should be included would be the name of the employee. So the person who's going to actually be doing the job, their name also needs to be on there. And a fourth clause, grade 12s, is the job title. Now, in other words, what you're going to be doing. Like in the previous thing, it's if you get that job, it's a senior optometrist. Now, there's a whole bunch here. You can go onto the website and get the rest of the clauses, but let's move on. Okay, so that was question 5.5. Now, question 5.6, grade 12s, looks at assess 3 important aspects that you will consider when applying for the position of a senior optometrist. So this question is asking you, what are 3 important aspects that you need to keep in mind if you're going to be applying for this job? So let's have a look at them. The first important aspect that you need to keep in mind when you're applying for this is the location. So where will you actually be working? So you are established and you do not want to relocate. So if you're applying for a job that is very far away, you'll probably have to move. So you have to ask yourself, am I moving? And if I'm not moving, then it's probably not a good idea to apply. Another question to ask yourself would be the skills related to the job. So a senior optometrist, literally, do you have the skills that's required to be a senior optometrist? And let's do one more. Another one would be special interests. So does this suit the post requirements? And lastly, let's do one more, the basic salary. So if you look at the basic salary, are you happy with what they're offering you? So this question is asking you to look at the case study and apply it to your knowledge. So you've done this before in HR, where you learned all the different things to keep in mind. And simply grade 12, what you need to do is take the knowledge you have and apply it. Let's go to the next question. Now, the next question is question 6. And if you've got the previous paper with you, grade 12s, we're on question 3.2. Now, this says, read the article below and answer questions that follow. Now, the article below reads the following. So, Cell C's campaign misleading. Now, the Advertising Standards Authority, or ASA, has found that the mobile operator services provided Cell C's 4G campaign is misleading and dishonest. The complainants is, in essence, reported that the respondent's 4G logo is dishonest and misleading, as consumers could mistake it to be a reference to the 4G standard of network. The ASA said it is ruling that, let's quickly scroll up, consumers have become accustomed to seeing the term 3G in connection with broadband capable devices in South Africa, which always denotes speed and connectivity capacity. Cell C has been driving its connectivity as speed cover 4G in several cities, including Port Elizabeth, Bloemfontein, East London, and Cape Town. Now, this is from a reading. Let's have a look at the question. The question asks us, describe what is meant by unethical advertising. Now, unethical advertising, if you think back to work we've already done, simply refers to when companies do certain things that deliberately misleads consumers. Okay, this could be deceptive packaging, deceptive promotion, all those different things. But this question is asking us directly to use the case study. So let's look at what is meant with unethical advertising. And in this case, grade 12s, it's basically just saying that it's getting consumers to believe that they will get more value, for their money than what they actually do. So in this case, consumers think that they will be getting, according to this case study, they'll be getting 3G connectivity, 4G connectivity, and you'll see when you read through the case study, it's in inverted commas. In other words, it's on purpose, it's showing that it's, so Celsey was being, in this case, slightly unethical with its advertising. Now the second question to this was, use the information from the case study above to explain why Celsey's advert is unethical. So like I mentioned already, and we went through it, I'm just going to quickly write down 3 quick answers with you or for you. So why was the Celsey advert not ethical? The first point to this was, remember, South African consumers relate to 3G with broadband speed. So I'm just going to say broadband and speed, and as well as connectivity. And so because consumers are assuming this and not really reading the advert properly, it's misleading. And another issue, let's just do 2, is that the 4G logo may be perceived as actual 4G standards of network. So this was just taking something that you guys know under ethics and professionalism and applying it to a case study. So again, you need to know what unethical advertising is, and then take that information and change it into the case study, or use the case study. Let's go to the next part. The next part to this is, or the next question, sorry about that. The next question is question 3.3, if you're following on your exam paper. And this question asks us, describe the following issues that challenge the ethical and professional conduct in the business environment, and make recommendations on how a business can deal with such problems. Again, grade 12s, read your questions carefully. This question is actually asking you 2 things. So let's quickly separate it. So the first part is, describe the following issues that challenge ethical and professional conduct in the business environment. So that's the first part. And make recommendations on how you can, or business can deal with it. So the first part, the first issue is taxation. And remember, it's 2 parts, so you need to be sure that you get both. So the first part of taxation with ethical and professional issues, the first part, is the description. So the government needs revenue from taxation to provide essential services like housing, education, etc. And so literally, if companies don't pay tax, the government doesn't have the necessary funds to improve our infrastructure. And the part, professional behavior for the business in this regard would be for the business not to avoid tax by falsifying financial records. Now, with this section, remember grade 12, you get what's called tax evasion and tax avoidance. Now remember, tax evasion is illegal, tax avoidance is legal because it's doing certain functions like donations and things like that that help bring down the costs. But just keep that in mind. And let's do one more. Company tax, VAT, and personal income tax are some of the main sources of income for government. So you had to describe what is taxation. So we've described it now. And remember, they asked you, what are suggestions to improve it? So what are the suggestions? The first suggestion is, all businesses must register with SARS in order to pay tax. The next point, avoid penalties of tax evasion by paying tax due by them, in other words, paying what you have to. And let's do one last one, declare all income to SARS. So the question was, look at the ethical and professional issues around taxation and provide suggestions on how we can improve this. So a big thing, and this is also tax season, I think, started yesterday. So a lot of companies and individuals, so tax is a big thing in South Africa right now, and it's important for all people to pay tax because that literally is what increases or improves the infrastructure. And let's go to the second part here. The second part here looking at unauthorized use of workplace funds and resources. So again, what is this? and how can we improve it if there are problems. So unauthorized use of funds, in other words, you are using company money that you're simply not allowed to use, or actually just not allowed to use it, so it's unauthorized. So let's have a look at the first part here. Fraud is theft, and it's the misuse of money that belongs to the employer. Then fraud increases the cost of doing business and affects competition. It discourages investors by raising prices to absorb the losses. So unauthorized use of funds, it's very negative for a business. And obviously, if you're the person stealing the money, essentially, you also face police charges, losing your job, all sorts of legal action, really not worth it. How can we improve the situation? First off, you have to limit the number of employees having access to the business funds. So the less people that can actually get into petty cash, can use company credit cards, stuff like that, the less people have access, the more control you have as a business. Another recommendation would be identify risk areas and vulnerable areas. In other words, when you can do this, you can improve the safety. And lastly, put in place fraud prevention strategies, and literally just making sure that people who do have access to company funds, that's always tracked in a very appropriate and responsible manner. So that was that question. Should we go to another question, or do you want to?
Yes, let's take another question. As mindset is getting over the Curio on curio.co.za. We're just going to check also which questions are giving them so much trouble.
Okay, so I'm going to move on.
Yes.
Okay, great stuff, guys. Let's go on to the next one. So the next question, and this is question 3.4. Remember, if you're following with the actual exam paper, it says, explain family responsibility leave according to the Basic Conditions of Employment Act 97, Act 75 of 1997. Now remember, this is all part of legislation. And in legislation, we've got BE, we've got employment, equity, all sorts of different ones. So this is just taking one part out of a big question. So discuss what is family responsibility. So what is family responsibility according to the Employment Equity Act? It is all people or employees are entitled to 3 to 5 days leave and or an annual basis. It's proportionate leave if it's less than 12 months of a full-time employment. Whole long story short, so you are entitled to between 3 and 5 days off for family responsibility, and that is taking into account that you've worked a full 12 months for this company. If you've not worked a full 12 months, they will work it out in proportion to how many months you've worked there. The second part to family responsibility is that it does not accumulate on a yearly basis. So if you've had no family emergency this year and you didn't take any time off, that time is then scrapped. Okay, next year you start fresh. And the last part to this is when a child is born or sick, you get family responsibility.
Right, thank you very much, Tanya. I must say that the leading number now is 8, so you're close again. And out of 36 people that commented on a certain post that we posted on the stop the clock picture, only none of them said 0. So I'm the only one who said 0. It's just weird. Out of 36 people that commented, no one said 0. But otherwise, it's your choice. It's my guess. I might be the only one that's going to win now. But otherwise, we'll give you more details after the break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. And now it is that time where we stop the clock. I'm not in a good mood, as you guys can see, because I think Tanya is leading. And now let's just check. Anyway, Tanya, let's just do this.
Let's have a look. I have refreshed it, and this is going to burn, but we are on 45,509.
Can you please refresh again?
Okay, one more.
Just one more.
Oh,
all
no.
Right. It's fine. Number 9 wins, so Oh, I thought it was refreshing again.
No, I've done it twice.
But anyway, number 9 wins. Thank you to everybody that has entered for the competition. Remember, all the lucky people that have chosen that lucky number, which is number 9, will go through a draw and we'll announce the winners. The winner just before the end of the show. And the other winner that I'm going to be announcing, it's between the 2 winners that have won this morning. One in the morning and the one that will win now. One of them will win also this. So we'll see. It's a pity it's not me, but it's fine.
Okay,
Let's
cool,
continue,
guys.
Tanya.
All the clever people that picked 9, let's hope all the best
Ouch.
for you guys.
Ouch.
So
I was
remember,
hoping that our director would like just within these 2 minutes, but it disappointed me. But it's fine, James.
Okay, guys. So remember, we were telling you while you're having a break, quickly go onto that mobile website to try and do the multiple choice questions. Grade 12s, these questions, multiple choice questions, commit to them. Never leave one open. Don't do anything like that. So always with multiple choice, go with an answer, go with it. And what we found was question 6 was the one most of you had that you battled with. So let's quickly look at question 6 off the mobile site. So the question was, Beauty Look Clothing factory, which has a market value of 500,000 Rand, was recently damaged by fire. Now the cost of the repairs for the damages to the building amounted to 100,000 Rand, and Beauty Look Clothing Factory was insured for 300,000 Rand. And this was homeowner's cover. And the question asks, the amount for the repairs that will be paid out by the insurer will be... Now, before you answer this, quickly go through a couple of things. So we're looking at insurance, and clearly this person has underinsured. So you have to think back, what is the underinsurance calculation? And let's quickly do it together. It will simply be, and you can make this really easy on yourselves, grade 12s. So you take the 300,000 Rand over the 500,000 Rand times the loss, which was 100,000 Rand. And you will see, let's quickly take the calculator, and I'm just going to do this all old-fashioned way. So it's going to be the 300,000 over the 500,000 times the loss, which was 100,000, and you will see that it is 60,000 Rand. So the answer to this question is B, 60,000 Rand. Easy way to remember is the insured amount over the actual value. So the actual value times the damage. So I hope that helps grade 12s. Remember, multiple choice, use this website. Even now, if we're busy, go, it's BS12. What's the website called again?
Curio.co.za. Curio.
Okay, so give it a bash, guys, if there's a second in between. Let's carry on with the questions. So let's go to the next question. This question is question 3.5, which relates to the... Yeah, so let's have a look. So evaluate the Delphi technique as a method used to solve problems in the workplace. So now we're skipping to problem-solving techniques. I want to go through this quite fast, grade 12s. Why? Because we've been doing this since last year. So let's have a look. And this question is asking us to evaluate. Very important, so keep that in mind. It's with 4 marks, so we can do 2-2. So you can do this in 2 ways. You can have arguments for this technique, and what they say is the first argument for, experts can be contracted to do it. In other words, you get the best possible information. And the second part, various relevant questions can be formulated. Remember, with Delphi technique, it's more than one questionnaire, so you're going to like whittle it down to the most important questions and get the best answers out of it. Now, the second part, remember, you can obviously agree with this or you can disagree with it, because the question is asking you to evaluate. So if you disagree with this, an argument against this or against this technique, Delphi technique, would be expert opinions can be too theoretical. In other words, because they're experts and they have really in-depth knowledge, the answer might be too technical and doesn't really give you what you need to solve. And the second argument against it, some answers can be irrelevant. In other words, you've done all this effort, people give you the answers, but the answers aren't what you were looking for. They actually maybe even didn't answer it correctly. So the Delphi technique, you had to evaluate it, so you had to look at or you could choose between for or against. Let's go to the next question, grade 12s. So the next question, grade 12s, is again a scenario question, and it's a quick one, so I'm going to quickly read through it with you. So it's all up to you. You can become an adventurous entrepreneur, a corporate giant, or just a savings investor. It is possible to have good results in bad economic times, and adapting to challenging environments in the business world is vital for any person and in any business. Hard work, perseverance, and honesty are needed from an entrepreneur. And then you must also be optimistic, a goal setter, able to interact effectively with people. You need to be inquisitive, enjoy new challenges, and act on your instinct. So as you read through this with me, grade 12s, you can see they actually listed all the entrepreneurial qualities for us. So let's hope the questions are nice and easy. So the first question is, describe what is meant by an entrepreneur with vision. So that was the very first statement there, and it's quite an open-ended question. So let me show you what I would have answered there. So it's basically, it's an entrepreneur with a set goal in life. So it's an entrepreneur with a set goal in life. And you could also have said entrepreneur is somebody that has a target to aim for. That was a nice, easy question. And then the next question, besides an entrepreneur with a vision, list any 4 characteristics of a good entrepreneur from the scenario above. So they're being quite specific, grade 12. Don't just write any entrepreneurial qualities. Find the entrepreneurial qualities that they gave us in the case study. And if you go through the case study, let's give 4. So the first one says you need to be adventurous. Another quality from the case study, you need to be a hard worker, so hard working. A third one could be honesty. And the fourth one would be that you need to be able to be a goal setter. And as you can see, grade 12s, I've written over it now, but this question was worth 8 marks. So you'll be getting 2 marks per answer. So this is a nice question to boost your marks a little bit. And again, remember, always read your case study if they're asking you to refer to it, because if you don't answer according to the case study, you might not get the mark. Another question, would be 10.3. And remember, it'll be slightly different if you're following on your exam paper. Explain the importance of entrepreneurs in overcoming socioeconomic problems in South Africa. So the question is asking you, why is entrepreneurship important to combat all the socioeconomic issues we have as South Africans in South Africa? So first one, let's have a look. You'll see that what I've got here is, remember, entrepreneurs. Why is entrepreneurship important to overcome socioeconomic issues? First one, it provides job opportunities for the unemployed workers. Remember, if people have jobs, they'll have more money, they'll be able to improve their standard of living, possibly housing, better education. Creating jobs is the most important way of overcoming socioeconomic problems. Another important reason for entrepreneurship in this is that they stimulate the economy through investments. So more people, remember, that get into the economic flow, the more money is in circulation, the more, just the better it will be in general for our economy. And remember, if the economy is improving, socioeconomic issues should theoretically fall. Another important one, let's do one more. Better living conditions by providing fringe benefits such as housing allowances. So entrepreneurs, starting jobs, creating new businesses, remember, getting people working for them. If you're working for someone, you might get certain benefits, and a benefit of this would be a housing allowance, for example, and this could be they give you a certain amount every month, let's say 800 Rand, and that goes towards paying your bond or helping you pay your rent. So that's the end of the question on entrepreneurship. Let's go to the next question. Now this question is question 4.2. Now question 4.2 in your exam paper, and remember slightly different, the question is, study the illustration below and answer the questions that follow. So let's have a look. This is a little diagram, and it shows us A is Rosie's Grape Farm, B is Boerland Wineries Limited, and C is Cousins Wholesalers Pty Limited. So we've looked at it. Let's look at what the questions are. The first question is asking us, name the business sector in A and the business sector in C. So the business sector in A is quite simply, and we know this is a farm, so this would be the primary sector. And C, Cousins Wholesalers Pty Limited, and this would be tertiary, grade 12s. So primary and tertiary sector. The next question, question 1.2, identify the form of ownership in B and C. So let's quickly go back to the illustration, and the illustration is asking us about B and C and what are the forms of ownership. So if you look at the forms of ownership, we have to remember, look at what's written at the back. So B only ends in Ltd, so we know this is a public company. So B is a public company, and C, remember, had Pty Limited. So that is telling us that this form of ownership is a private company. This was a nice, easy question, lots of free marks here. And remember, primary, secondary, and tertiary grade 12s, you've been doing this forever. So they'll always throw it in somewhere, but they'll do it in a sort of not a sneaky way, but a way that you have to sort of keep track and really know what you're talking about. The next question I have for you is question 4.3, and it asks, describe 4 positive effects of corporate social responsibility programs for businesses in your area. In other words, they're referring to what are 4 positive effects of CSR. And remember, in previous lessons, we've discussed the difference between CSI and CSR. So this question is asking, what are the 4 positive effects? Let's have a look at them. So the 4 positive effects I have for you here is the first positive effect is that it improves the health of its workers. So remember, a lot of companies work with dangerous materials, toxic things perhaps, or even just something dangerous like mining. And it's important to keep your workers healthy and safe. Another important part, remember we're looking at 4 positive effects of corporate social responsibility for businesses, is that it may attract experienced employees, which could benefit the enterprise in terms of increased productivity. So because workers are feeling satisfied about what's happening, businesses may attract better skilled workers with a good attitude, for example, and you want those kinds of workers because they'll obviously work hard for you. Another point, remember that I asked for 4, is the community supports the business by purchasing its products and thereby contributing to the business's profitability. So remember, if consumers feel that businesses are doing the right thing, they are more likely to purchase from them or buy from them, and this in turn will boost the profitability of their business. So yes, they're implementing corporate social responsibility, but they're also benefiting by it because more people will buy from them. And the last point here is the business will enjoy goodwill. And this is like we've discussed before, more people will want to do business with them, or other businesses will do more business with them because they're perceived as doing the right thing, and people want to be associated with companies that do the right thing. Another question we have here, let me scroll down. Remember grade 12s, whatever I don't quite get with you, You can always get on the website. And I gave you lots of different answers. We're just doing answers that are needed. So let's go to the next question. This question is question 13. Or if you're following the exam paper, remember question 4.4. And it's asking us, discuss 4 causes of conflict which may arise when 2 or more employees work together. So in other words, grade 12s, what are causes of conflict in a company? So remember, if more than one person works, or if you put more than one person in any room, there's going to be reasons for them not to possibly agree. And especially in work context, people are all trying to get further up in the ladder any which way they can. So 4 causes of conflict. The first cause of conflict could be scarce resources. Now, scarce resources could literally be computers, any other equipment, and if a company doesn't have enough of it, workers might try, well, obviously you want to work with their computers and with the correct equipment, so workers are going to get into conflict about who gets to use that scarce resource. Another cause of conflict could be gender bias. In other words, this is when a manager, for example, favors workers of one gender over another. So, for example, the manager gives more privileges to female staff than male staff. And that will obviously be a cause of conflict between the 2 genders because they're not being treated equally. Another cause of conflict could be weak leadership. Now, with weak leadership, I'm going to go through this with you. Workers may become disillusioned with managers if management takes time to resolve issues or is inconsistent with making decisions. So weak leadership will also lead to conflict because obviously managers are there to lead workers, give them guidance and get them where they need to go. And if management isn't strong, it's going to filter through and cause the workers to also not be sure. And that's going to affect their work performance. And the last part here is, let's just do one more, social factors. Now, social factors, example, workers from different cultures may have difficult working relationships if they're not properly informed about each other's cultures. So literally, grade 12s, people from different cultures might clash because they're not used to the way of other people doing the way they do things. And this will cause conflict in the work environment. So that's the end of that question. I want to try and squeeze in one more question with you guys today. And this is question 4.5. Now, question 4.5 asks us, South Africa is known as a country where workers have a right to strike. So that's a statement. The question is, give 3 possible reasons why workers strike. Now remember, we're looking at industrial relations now, and this will tie into issues like trade unions, Labour Relations Act. Remember, I want you guys to be able to take everything you've learned this year and put it together when you see a question like this. So, what are the 3 reasons why workers strike? The first reason is that it could be salary disputes. So it could be that workers want to be paid more, they want more remuneration, and they're not getting it. So this could be a cause of a strike. Another reason why people strike would be to have better working conditions. So better working conditions would be a safe environment, perhaps something as simple as proper lighting, proper ventilation. And you can understand why people want to strike if they're not working in an environment that is conducive for them to work very well. And another reason people strike is unfair labour practices. In other words, people aren't being paid fair, they're not giving proper leave, different structures like that. Now remember, again, grade 12s, this is part of Trade Unions, Labour Relations Act, and there are literally laws, okay, that go with this. And remember, striking is not the only form of industrial action. You get go-slows, all sorts of different things. And I think if I'm lucky, can I squeeze one more question in or not?
Yes, quickly so.
Okay, quick squeeze. Explain the consequences of strike action in a business enterprise. So what happens when people strike, grade 12s? This, we don't even have to underline it, I can tell you this. So when companies strike, grade 12, or when workers strike, how does this affect the company? The company loses profit. Why? Because obviously workers aren't working, so it's not being productive. If you're not producing anything, chances are you're not selling anything, and this has a negative impact on the business. And one more thing, just remember grade 12s, the consequences of, well, labor, trade unions' actions need to be kept in consideration because it will affect the worker as well as the business. Good grief, grade 12s. I've had such a good day with you. That's the end of my questioning, I think, and I'm going to hand you over.
Thank you so much, Tanya. You know what, as you're going through those questions and I'm about to announce our winner, I feel so stupid. You know, something happened. On this CD,
Yes.
there's number 9. So I missed that. So that's where you saw that you need to choose number 9.
It was a subconscious.
Yes.
It was a sign. It was a sign.
I looked at it and I was like, how could 36 people choose all the other numbers except my number? So there's something wrong. But otherwise, we all fail and stumble. It's just a guesswork after all. We're not all, we're not all good at guessing.
That was luck.
It's luck at times. But otherwise, our winner for today's show is Katlego Kgatla. Well done to you, Katlego Kgatla. This CD is coming your way, Deep House Chronicles 9, and this awesome case. So it's just too good. It's just too awesome. Thank you to everybody that tuned in and, watched the show and commented on Facebook, helped one another, because that's what we need as team mindset. But otherwise, we just want to say, if you're having any problems, go to helpdesk at learnextra.co.za. Visit the curio.co.za. But from us to you, we just want to say peace, and we love you so much. See you.
Funds and shares, in other words, to try and increase their money. And another one, it serves as a disciplined market for securities. In other words, a safe, secure environment where you can buy, sell shares, different types of commodities, and in that way do it in a way that is reputable. Remember, if you want to be listed on the JSE, you have to have certain, you have to meet certain criteria. In other words, it's a safe place. So if companies are listed, you can be the only. Okay, well, let me rephrase that. It's safe to buy because the company has met the requirements of the JSE, but obviously the JSE can't guarantee you that the shares are going to increase in value, etc. And let's just do one more of this. Another function of the JSE is that it encourages new investments by businesses or individuals previously disadvantaged groups. So it's giving every South African an opportunity to buy commodities or shares, and in that way everybody gets a chance to make a little bit of money. Now there was 2 parts to this question. So the first part was, what are the functions? And let's quickly have a look at the second part. The second part tells us or asks us, explain why some companies are not listed on the JSE. Now, why some companies are not listed on the JSE, grade 12s, would simply be that they do not meet the requirements set by the JSE, and obviously private companies can also not be listed. So let's quickly get these down.
Hello, awesome mindsetters. This is your best channel for learning. Yes, Learn Extra Live with me, Abram, and Tanya. How are you, Tanya?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
I'm awesome. Mindsetters, hope you're also good. This is your chance now, still on the winter school program, whereby you can join us and learn more with us. Today, we are doing business studies. And what are we going over?
Well, basically what we're going to be doing is we're looking at the 2013 paper, the February-March one. That's, and we're doing the medium type questions. And
so it's more like a revision.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
All right. Well, we'll be taking you through now to our competition that we are running, proudly sponsored by Soul Candy. We're giving away an awesome CD. I'll show you now. This is the CD I'm giving away today, Deep House Chronicles, all courtesy of Soul Candy. So all you need to do is to check first the number of likes that we have. Tanya, can you show us?
Let's have a look. I just want to refresh it quickly so we've got the most up-to-date information.
Yes.
And there we go, 45,497.
All right, and now we're just looking at the last digit, which is 7. So what is happening is the name of our challenge is Stop the Clock. We're going to be starting our clock. All you need to do is to guess between 0 and 9 which one is your lucky number, of which you think by the time we stop the clock, we would have got that number on our last digit of our likes. That's simple. If you guess, if you guess right, of course, you're gonna win this. And also later on, I'll be announcing the winner of this awesome CD case. So now, all you need to do is to jump over to mindset.co.za/learn/stop the clock. That's how simple it is. Let's just start it now. Tanya, what's your number?
My number is 9.
Your number is 9. Oh, you're going for the big one.
Go big or go home.
I'll go for 0. Okay, I'll be slow. I'll take the lowest. So I'll be 0 and you'll be 9.
9. There we go.
All you need to do is, mindset says, as you see that there is 7. For Tanya to get to her number, she'll only need 2 more likes, and then it will be 9 by the time we stop the clock. But then for me, I'll need more than that. I'll need 3. So that it gets back to 0. So that's how it is. You get your friends to like our page, share the page, and let's get all those likes in. But otherwise, if you need any queries or you're having any problems or questions, go over Facebook. We are on facebook.com/learnextra. Tanya and I are ready to give you a most insightful and very, very helpful show ever. Let's take it away, Tanya.
Great stuff. So, like I mentioned earlier, grade 12s, we're looking at the 2013 March-February paper, and what I've done is I've left out the short questions. We'll get back to that. I'll discuss that with you a little bit later on. And what I've done today is looked at section B, the medium type questions, and I've taken 1 essay. So the very first thing I've got here, remember, mindsetters, grab your highlighter, get your notes ready, and let's go. Let's just do this. So the first question was question 1 here, which is state 4 functions of, let me grab the right pen here, 4 functions of the Johannesburg Security Exchange, or the JSE, and explain why some companies are not listed on the JSE. So the first thing you need to do now is to remember, think back to what are the functions of the JSE. Now remember, this section will fall part of the investments, because remember, JSE shares, things like that. So the question was, what are the functions, or what are the functions of the JSE? So the very first function of the JSE, and you'll see here, is that it serves as a link between investors and entrepreneurs. So what they mean with this, grade 12s, is that the JSE serves as sort of a bond between entrepreneurs, people starting businesses who have their business listed, and people who want to invest, buy shares in their company and make money. And with that, remember, you get people who buy shares to sell it immediately to make a profit, and other people buy shares to watch it grow and try and get money out of it in the long run. The second function of the JSE is that it serves as a barometer of economic conditions. Now, this statement is telling us that the JSE is showing us when the share prices go up, go down, commodities go up and down, basically. It's telling us if our economy in South Africa as a whole is doing well. So if share prices are high, generally it means the economy is doing well. If share prices are low, it will serve as an indicator that as a whole, the South African economy is not very strong. The third function of the JSE is that it encourages financial institutions to invest their surplus. So why, the question was, why some companies are not listed. So the first reason is that they don't meet the requirements set by the JSE. And the second part is so don't meet requirements, and oh, you're going to laugh at me. I forgot what the second part is. So let's just go with the first part here. Sorry, grade 12, I was having a completely blown moment here. So it's they don't meet the requirements, and I promise you I'll get back to the second part of this question as soon as possible. I don't know why. Could be the holiday season. Let's go to the next part. Okay, so the next question asks us, question 2, and again, remember, we're looking at the 2013 paper, and this is question 2.2. Now with question 2.2, it says the graph below represents the sales volume of cakes at Stranger Manor School during the 4 school terms of 2011. So let's quickly have a look at this pie chart, because it's quite clearly, remember, you in grade 12 need to be able to identify different types of charts, and you need to be able to interpret them, especially. So let's have a quick look at this. So we know it's a pie chart, and what is it a pie chart of? It's a pie chart of cake sales, and it's showing us